Comunismo, nazismo, socialismo, até mesmo niilismo e anarquismo. A ideia do anarquismo é que você derrube tudo para que possa reconstruir. E não sabemos de fato como esta coisa reconstruída se parece, mas se deve ser melhor do que está aqui agora, então vamos destruir e começar tudo de novo. Hoje temos até mesmo o progressivismo ou globalismo. E quando você ouve aqueles que promovem essas ideias, eles dizem que se nós aderirmos às ideias deles, resolverá todos os problemas do mundo. As doenças irão embora, a injustiça, a pobreza, tudo deverá ser como deve ser e viveremos felizes para sempre. E a única pessoa que acredita nisso são as pessoas que simplesmente são ignorantes da história. Porque isso foi o que os nazistas prometeram. É o que o comunismo promete. É o que o socialismo, em todas as suas formas, sempre prometeu. E nesses esforços para tornar todos iguais, é como a revolução dos bichos. Alguns se tornaram mais iguais que outros. E geralmente são aqueles que estão no topo. Então aqueles que estão no topo se certificam que todos os outros permaneçam no fundo, para garantir que eles continuem a estarem no topo. No fim, o que todos esses ismos fizeram foi provar serem mais brutais e desiguais do que os sistemas que se propuseram a substituir. As pessoas que viviam sob o soviético te diriam que era melhor viver sob os czares, por pior que fosse. Quando olhamos para a história, vemos, por exemplo, a Revolução Francesa. E o que isso levou? Começou com uma rejeição de Deus, da Bíblia, e tudo que tivesse a ver com isso. O começou a substituir com o humanismo, e o que o seguiu foi uma série de execuções em massa de qualquer um que não aceitasse o programa. Cortem a cabeça deles! Essa era a devida abordagem. Ironicamente, o último homem a ser executado foi o primeiro a puxar a primeira corda que executou os outros. O que frequentemente é o caso. Choca as pessoas saberem que Karl Marx foi criado como cristão. Era um seguidor cristão até que, literalmente, e a maioria não sabe disso, abraçou o satanismo e se tornou um adorador de Satanás. Ele disse que a religião é o ópio das massas e a religião que ele escolheu foi adorar Satanás e os poderes das trevas. Comunismo era Deus. No sistema mais literal, se tornou seu próprio sistema religioso e se desmoronou como um grande fracasso. Eles ficaram sem nada, exceto cada homem por si mesmo. Para aqueles de nós que testemunharam as décadas de tirania pelas quais o nosso mundo passou no século XX, sobre pessoas como Mao e Fidel Castro, fica atordoado pelas pessoas que admiram esse homem. No Che Guevara, vejo os jovens usando camisetas desse assassino que matou milhares. Eles usam a camiseta como se ele fosse um cara legal.
When Karl Marx envisioned socialism, it was merely seen as a stage of tyrannical dictatorship that would naturally collapse to bring about the stage of communism. At the time of Marx, there were not yet any socialist or communist countries. Socialism was merely seen as a stage of state capitalism, where the state seizes control of all means of production in order to more rapidly achieve the communist goals of cultural, social, and moral desolation. Since communism was the goal, socialist dictators have historically always used their powers to attack and destroy the old values of each society. Under Lenin, Mao, and Pol Pot, one of the first steps was a man-made famine that wiped out large portions of the population, leading to a survival of the fittest concept, where many people survived through cannibalism or corruption or under intense fear. Lenin clearly stated, according to the Black Book of Communism, that these atrocities were valuable for communist goals, since it would help bring about socialism, while also destroying people's faith in their leaders and in God. Unfortunately, when many people think of socialism today, they only know its surface talking points. The vague and often lofty-sounding arguments that it will create equality, and its social movements branded as a fight against so-called slavery and oppression. In reality, socialism has historically represented everything it claims to oppose. Socialism is the ideology of slavery, of oppression, of genocide, of mass inequality, and of virulent hatred. The system of communism is based on struggle, and socialist tyrants use hatred as their tool to create this in society. Under Vladimir Lenin, people were told to hate the wealthy landlords, who he called kulaks. Under Mao Zedong, people were told to hate landlords and anyone who still believed in tradition, who he labeled as rightists. Under Adolf Hitler, who used National Socialism, people were told to hate Jews, who he framed as the wealthy minority. And under today's socialists in the West, people are told to hate all white people and all men, and to hate anyone who believes in traditional culture and family values. Hatred is the fuel of socialism. Hatred is the creed of its followers. They are made to embody what they believe they oppose. This ties directly to Marx's theory of social evolution, that society would move from capitalism to socialism, then to communism. Marxists also frame this according to the Hegelian dialectic theory that conflict leads forward. By fomenting conflict and hatred in society and between various groups of people, socialist tyrants use the social Darwinist theory of survival of the fittest, believing that conflict more rapidly advances society towards the goals of communist desolation. This is what they call progress. During this process, these tyrants brainwash their followers into believing that the people they are agitated to hate are the enemies of the people or represent inequality. This strategy allows a small cadre of corrupt leaders to incite mobs in acts of violence and to use these campaigns of violence and suppression to seize power over a society. This process has been repeated by socialist leaders all throughout the 20th century, leading to its death toll, according to the Black Book of Communism, of over 100 million people. Socialist dictators use and sometimes even create the ills and hardships of society, then use these ills and hardships as tools onto which they latch social policies. These policies are then used to drive society along the progress towards communism. And the social ills they've latched these policies onto are used as the defensive tools which allow them to attack anyone who question the policies. Under socialism, equality is a lie. That is, unless you consider equality the flattening of society into equal misery, under the heel of a massive state bureaucracy led by a corrupt political class. Socialists accuse people of doing what they do, and that deflects criticism from their own actions. They manufacture hardships and use the label of oppression as a tool to attack varying segments of society. Over the last 100 years, socialism and its tyrants who sought to create communist systems created famine, genocide, totalitarianism, mass corruption, moral collapse, and social collapse in almost every instance. The lofty promises and high-sounding statements made by socialist tyrants are merely tools for stringing people along with their true motives. In practice, socialism accomplishes the opposite of what its purveyors preach. Socialism is the ideology of government tyranny, of granting absolute power to a small, wealthy clique, and of creating mass inequality between the wealthy socialist leaders and the impoverished masses.